6 Minutes Season 5. The Season of Unknowingness. The final chapter of the 6 Minute sequel.
There are kids in this world who are different. Special.
One of them found us.
And became family.
But her time ran out. And now, that girl is missing.
In this episode, I'll be breaking down the latest episode, 6 Minutes Season 5, Piece by Piece. Hey, Review Pop listeners, it's Cyrus and Mueller. We're here today talking about episode, 25 of 6 Minute Season 5, and, I just heard this, we're one episode away from being halfway through Season 5. I just find that so exciting. I mean, we've had so much excitement just with character building here, and we really set up a lot at the dance. I think, new bonds formed, it's a dance, so you can kind of come to expect that. And so I've just really also appreciated that with Season 5, the fact that we really get to explore with, these longer episodes, so much excitement. And then we really get to, focus on Brynleigh and Cyrus's relationship growing here. But yeah, without further ado, let's dive straight into this one.
This is my date, Aiden, and this is my date, Jaden. They're from
Glacier Bay.
Awesome.
Nice to meet you both. What did you say your name was, bud?
Badger.
Cool name, bro.
Thanks.
You and Birdie make such a cute couple.
Oh, we're not.
Gosh, so I love this clip so much. Firstly, we meet Cora and Dora's dates. And I've been really excited for this for a long time because Dave kind of talked about this on GZM Rewind. I think it was a couple months ago, kind of teasing at this, when the guest on the podcast was the actress who plays Cora and Dora, right? Is one actor. But, I just love how we've reintroduced, these two characters into Season 5. But we hadn't heard from them from Season 2, but I think it's really exciting to have them back, and I think there's a lot of potential for something to happen with Aiden and Jaden and, everybody coming together. Cora and Dora, like Birdie and Badger were saying later, are kind of a lot of trouble. Something is always bound to go wrong with them. And then I also love Birdie getting uncomfortable at the end, right? She and Badger aren't together, but it's really great.
That was...
Not enough? I play little drums, too.
Oh, you really don't have to...
What can't she do?
Did you hear that?
It's gotta be Penn.
You up for a crawl through the vents?
Gosh, so I love this clip, right? We kind of get to see Brynleigh's new, abilities and talents, right? And it really reminds me of when we heard Holiday playing the drums for the first time in Season 1, right? Because Holiday can pick up any ability just by, learning it. So I remember Holiday had watched a YouTube video and then decided, okay, I'm going to play the drums. It was super awesome. One of my favorite moments, and, she and Cyrus kind of got to bond in that moment. I remember, Cyrus was just so surprised. But I love this here, right? She doesn't play the oboe, and that's very uncharacteristic of Brynleigh, but I love, she's a saxophone player. It's really interesting. And then this whole idea of the vents, I find really interesting, right? It's kind of funny in an interesting sort of way, right? We have Penn hiding on the vents, and they're looking for Penn, but obviously, as we know, Penn is kind of up to something, and so there's just a lot of interesting conflict and perspective to all of this, right? Cyrus and Brynleigh teaming up, I think that is amazing.
Forged some signatures and talked them into letting me enroll. I didn't know what else to do.
It's pretty smart. Are you scared? I think I might be.
I don't know. Maybe a little? I mostly just want answers.
Well, I'm going to help you get them, Badger Brian.
She's unsure, right? She just learned a lot of different things about Badger, and I can imagine that'd be just a huge, wake up for her, right? She expected to have this normal date, and yet, Badger doesn't seem to know anything. And I find that really interesting because, obviously, as we know, these bots, they can hold on to memories. And so my prediction was proven wrong. I thought, okay, maybe Badger remembers kind of some different things and is kind of covering up that. And I love that parallel to season 2, right? Because in season 2, or late season 1 actually, we find out that Badger has lost his memory. And so he's getting close with the Anders, and obviously Brynleigh kind of, adopted him as Bruce. And this reminds me of when Birdie called Badger Bruce. And so I just think it is so awesome. And I'm really excited to see Birdie and Badger working together and potentially growing closer to each other.
That's the best part. So I could do this. Bombs away!
What are you...
Oh, that's gonna leave a mark. And now, while you're recovering from a hopefully severe concussion, I've got work to do. Did I mention I tracked down part of my torso? And turns out, a cell phone was still in the pocket right where I left it before the blast.
So this is really unexpected, but we kind of have Adam revolting, right? And I was curious. I thought they were kind of gonna get closer to each other, right? Use each other as partners, but, Adam is pretty petty, right? As we've learned throughout the whole show. Adam doesn't forgive people, right? That's not his nature. He holds these grudges, especially against people like, Dr. Whittier. And we've seen him partner up with people in the past, but I just can't imagine him, really thinking about it, working with Jude, working with, this young Dr. Whittier. But I just really enjoyed this clip, right? Because, it shows just how far Adam is willing to go, right? Stacking up all these rocks just to, knock out Jude. And so we kind of learn in the next clip, right, what he is up to, getting as far away as he can from Jude, or, maybe making Jude suffer even more.
Can I ask how old you are? We expected someone a little more mature.
Child prodigy. What can I say? Listen, we don't have much time.
I'm really not sure what rebuilding Holiday does for him, right? Hasn't really been necessarily fond of Holiday in a really long time, right? They have their differences, and of course he's kind of returned to that state of like being Adam and, kind of hating everyone around him, right? And so this is really unexpected, and I wonder what Adam is trying to get out of it, right? Maybe he thinks that maybe he wants to restore the timeline. I don't know. It's really interesting, but we'll have to kind of learn what is that ulterior motive. Perhaps he wants some stocks of, Whittier Corp, right? Because in a previous episode, we had heard Jude asking, trying to find out what's happening at Whittier Corp. And so I just think he has some motive that we don't know about, and it'll be really interesting to learn what that is.
Oops, excuse me.
Hey!
Well, this is awkward.
Yeah. Our faces are...
Hi.
Hi.
Throughout, all these seasons, we've seen them grow closer to each other in spite of all of their differences, right? They really rely on each other. They're so close. And so I just find it so great whenever there's just such a deeply personal connection between them, right? And, them being in the vents, it's very an untraditional scene, I think, in a sense, but I can imagine it in my head. And I think that always says something really positive about a scene whenever you can just really imagine it in your head and kind of what's happening there, how uncomfortable they both must be, but at the same time, so comfortable with each other, right? And so I can kind of guess that these emotions are coming back to them.
No one's ever given me a flower before either. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Cyrus and his date, Brynleigh, they're looking for you.
Yeah, what's the deal with you two anyway?
Me and Sci-Fi? Oh, it could never happen. I was sent in to spy on him, you know.
Right, so this is really interesting. I've kind of talked about this a little bit, but there's a bit of a love triangle here. I think it's super interesting because earlier in the season we had kind of seen that connection grow between Casey and Cyrus, but at the same time I think that's more so a friendship, right? You know, their romantic relationship has turned into really just a really strong friendship, and I think it's great. But I also love Penn and Casey.
I know you don't want to go back to Whittier Court.
Do you?
No. I was thinking maybe we should try to help Cyrus and Brynleigh?
What's that?
Whittier Court. They're here.
Man, so what an exciting cliffhanger, bringing Whittier Corp into all of this. I think it's so great. I'm excited to learn more about what's going on with the child catchers and like their involvement in everything. I think the child catchers are maybe different in some ways, but at the same time still as ruthless as ever. Thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star review. Until next time, this is Landon saying, peace, love, and time travel.